Good morning, welcome to Breakfast with Charlie State and Naga Munchetti.
Our headlines today. Back in use in Europe, the rollout of the Oxford-AstraZeneca vaccine resumes in Germany, France and Italy after regulators conclude it is safe and effective.
Here, Boris Johnson will have his first dose of the Oxford vaccine later and urges the public to do the same.
The Oxford jab is safe and the Pfizer jab is safe. The thing that isn't safe is catching COVID.
Nicola Sturgeon under pressure as a Scottish parliamentary committee concludes she misled them. The First Minister stands by her evidence.
And good morning from North Yorkshire. Millions of us go on coach trips every year, but the pandemic has put this sector under real financial pressure. They're hoping for a busy summer to recoup those losses.
Good morning, it's a huge day for jockey Rachel Blackmore. She's leading the way already at the Cheltenham Festival and today aims to become the first woman to win the Gold Cup.
Raising a laugh, but at a safe distance. Red Nose Day goes ahead in the face of COVID restrictions.
And it's a spring equinox this weekend, but the weather stays fairly cloudy for most of you. At least most should stay dry. I've got the full forecast for you here on Breakfast.
Good morning, it's Friday the 19th of March. Our top story this morning, the Oxford-AstraZeneca vaccine will be rolled out in some European countries today after regulators found no evidence it causes blood clots.
The Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, will receive the vaccine today and has assured the public that it's safe after more than a dozen countries paused their delivery of the jab. Here's more from our health correspondent, Catherine Da Costa.
The Oxford-AstraZeneca vaccine is safe and effective at preventing COVID with no increased risk of blood clots. That's the consensus among regulators and a message the Prime Minister hopes will be heard around the world.
Today, the European Medicines Agency has come to a clear scientific conclusion, and I quote, "This is a safe and effective vaccine." So the Oxford jab is safe and the Pfizer jab is safe. The thing that isn't safe is catching COVID, which is why it's so important that we all get our jabs as soon as our turn comes.
The European Medicines Regulator carried out a thorough review looking at data from 20 million vaccinated people. It looked in particular at rare blood clots in the brain and found 18 cases, including 5 in the UK. There's no evidence of a link to the vaccine, but they'll continue to monitor this condition and are advising people with a number of symptoms, including a persistent headache or unusual bruising, to seek medical advice.
There is no increase in the overall risk of blood clots with this vaccine. Moreover, because the vaccine is effective in preventing COVID-19 disease, which in itself is a cause of blood clots, it likely reduces the risks of thrombotic events overall.
Italy and France are among the first to announce they'll resume using the AstraZeneca vaccine, and it can't come soon enough. They're among several European countries experiencing a third wave in new infections, with further lockdown measures being introduced. Catherine Da Costa, BBC News.
The French capital, Paris, is set to go into a month-long COVID lockdown as the country fears a third wave.
Another 15 departments in the country will also be placed under the same measures from midnight tonight. These measures will not be as strict as the previous lockdown, with people allowed to exercise outdoors. France has recorded more than 35,000 new infections within the past 24 hours.
Now, Scotland's First Minister, Nicola Sturgeon, is facing calls to resign because a committee of MSPs concluded that she misled them in their inquiry into the handling of harassment claims against her predecessor, Alex Salmond.
It's understood they voted 5-4, that she gave them an inaccurate account when she answered their questions 2 weeks ago. The First Minister says she stands by what she said. Our political correspondent, Nick Eardley, has this report.
I solemnly, sincerely and truly declare...
This is Nicola Sturgeon 2 weeks ago, giving evidence to the Scottish Parliament about how her government handled allegations of sexual harassment against Alex Salmond. It was a mammoth session, 8 hours in total, but the committee has decided she misled them in the process. In a meeting last night, a narrow majority on the committee, 5-4, made that decision. Their full report will be published next week, but opposition parties, same as Sturgeon, can no longer be trusted.
it's absolutely abundantly clear that Nicola Sturgeon has breached the ministerial code. As First Minister, you cannot continue if you have been untruthful, if you have misled Parliament and you've misled the people of Scotland. It is a resigning matter, pure and simple.
The First Minister has always denied misleading MSPs, and last night she stood by her evidence. She said, "What's been clear is that opposition members of this committee made their minds up about me before I uttered a single word of evidence. Their public comments have made that clear."
This committee has unfortunately experienced an awful lot of leaking and information coming out in ways that are neither helpful nor necessarily accurate. I think that this is more of the challenge that we see again here, and I'll be waiting to hear from the actual report.
In under a week, the Scottish Parliament will break up for the election. The coming days will be dominated by questions over whether Ms Sturgeon misled Parliament. The election campaign may well be too. Nick Earley, BBC News, Glasgow.
The Duke and Duchess of Sussex have issued a statement after it was revealed that the Sun newspaper paid an American private investigator to obtain personal information about Meghan Markle in the early days of their relationship.
The couple has said that now is a moment to reflect on the predatory practices of the media, which they say are reaping irreversible damage on families and relationships. The publisher of The Sun, News UK, accepts it paid the investigator but insists it never asked for or knew of any unlawful activity. The investigator admits to breaking the law.
People in Cumbria, Cornwall and Northumberland will be among the first in England to get ultra-fast broadband.
As part of the government's plan to roll out high-speed broadband to the majority of homes across the UK by the end of 2025. Work will begin next year with more than 1 million homes in rural areas set to benefit from the first stage of the scheme. Now, poor dental health is still a significant problem in England, according to a new report, despite it being largely preventable.
The new study from Public Health England looks for the first time at how people's circumstances can have an impact and says inequality is a major factor. John Donnison has this report.
This report says that while overall dental and oral health is improving across England, much still depends on your socio-economic background and where you live. This is especially the case for children. In 2019, 5-year-olds from the most deprived areas of the country were more than 3 times as likely to have tooth decay as those from the least deprived. There is a similar imbalance in dental health amongst adults. Public Health England says barriers to NHS care, including cost and lack of available services, are partly responsible. It says that people from the south of England have significantly healthier teeth and mouths than those living in the Midlands and the north. The research also says that women who brush their teeth more often, consume less sugar and visit the dentist for checkups more frequently than men, unsurprisingly, have fewer dental problems. John Donnison, BBC News.
Daniel Craig, Keira Knightley and Olivia Colman are amongst the stars taking part in tonight's socially distant comic relief.
Yes, the nights on BBC One will raise money to tackle hunger, homelessness and domestic abuse and mental health. Our entertainment correspondent Colin Patterson has been finding out what's in tonight's show.
This is the first socially distanced comic relief.
Red knows they will be different this year. We know that it's hard financially for so many people right now, but we'd love you to join us, even if it's just to share a laugh.
Tonight's show will be shorter, only 3 hours, but the Vicar of Dibley returns with a special message.
Last year, I was sponsored £5 per villager if I could squeeze a whole Granny Smith into my mouth. Job done!
While David Tennant and Michael Sheen take part in an historical version of their lockdown hit, Staged.
I'm going to write about this.
About the plague?
Yeah.
Is that what people want?
Yes, they want social realism.
Do they? OK, yeah.
And Catherine Tate's Nan joins James Bond for a secret briefing. So secret, all that's been released so far is this one photo.
This is pretty funny.
The money raised by Comic Relief will be used to support those who have been hardest hit by the coronavirus pandemic. But the night's other aim is to simply make people laugh. Colin Patterson, BBC News.
See the headlines as they happen and watch BBC News live in the app and get the full story with bbc.co.uk/news. Follow the story for all the latest with BBC News.